Update. My brother proposed to my fiancée and I'm mad. Original post. My 28 male brother Mark, 26 male, used to date my fiancée Jen, 26 female, a year ago. For context, they dated back in August 2022. They were only together for a month before he broke things off with her because he was bored of being in a relationship and never really wanted to settle down anyway. At the time they were dating, I was in a different state, so I had no idea he even had a girlfriend. And I had no idea who Jen was until I met her. Jen and I met at a bar when I moved back in October and hit it off really well. She was easily the most beautiful and intelligent woman I ever met, and we met up a few times more before we made it official. Fast forward to December and I finally bring her up to my family and proposed them meeting her at Christmas. They knew I was in a relationship, but I'm not the most open about my personal life, so I kept details about her to minimum until I knew how serious we really were. My parents asked to see pictures, and they started passing my phone around the dinner table. Mark saw it and blew up calling me a horrible brother for dating his ex-girlfriend, and he demanded I break it off with her. I refused. When I asked Jen about it, she confirmed they dated and gave me the details about their breakup. It took a few weeks, but eventually Mark stopped bringing up me dating his ex, and I thought he was over it. On Jen's birthday this year, I took her out to a fancy dinner with both our families and her closest friends, and I asked her to marry me. Mark flipped once again and blew up about me proposing to her, which I and my sisters immediately shut down. The incident happened this past weekend. Mark had been pretty quiet about the whole thing for the last 2 months. I didn't see him much and figured he went low contact with me, which I had no problem with. Then he invited me and Jen for a family dinner at his apartment with my parents and sisters. I thought it was weird, but my parents and sisters were also going, so we agreed to go. The dinner was nice, nothing too fancy, and we moved to the living room to talk. About 30 minutes into normal conversation, Mark stood up and told us he had an announcement. He made a long speech about being happy to have his family around his big moment, then got on one knee and pulled out this cheap ring while asking Jen to marry him. Jen was confused and obviously uncomfortable and demanded that he put it away and stand up. My dad tried to make a grab for Mark, but I got to him first and hit him. I won't repeat most of it, mostly because I was too angry to even listen most of it, but he said something along the lines of wanting to show me that Jen wasn't really into me and just wanted to get back at him. Before it could get worse, my parents rushed me out and promised to talk to him. It's been a few days since it happened, and I'm still mad about it. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm scared Jen might have second thoughts marrying me because of this. Any advice? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I think it's clear that your brother doesn't even like nor want Jen. He doesn't even see her as a human. He sees her as an object, a toy that he didn't want. But seeing someone else with it makes him go, "No, mine," like a freaking child. So he's acting out and trying to drive a wedge between y'all in order to get his way. If he liked her, he would care about how she feels. If he liked her, he'd want her to be happy. He doesn't like her. So forget the tantrum he's trying to pull and block him. No need to entertain that nonsense. Absolutely this. How much do you want to bet the brother is also the sort of guy to get mad when somebody else gets a promotion at work while he himself is doing below bare minimum at all times? Wow, he's that ex. It sounds like your brother needs more time away from Jen before he can be a normal acquaintance or future brother-in-law. You and Jen should go low contact for at least 6 months to a year to ensure he moves on properly. I think he's moved on. They dated a month, and he broke up with her. He doesn't see her as a person, but he puts down the toy he doesn't want, and now someone else is touching it, so he is having a tantrum. Lock your brother out of your life for good. That's the only way you and your fiancé will be able to live peacefully. Don't listen to his family BS if anyone tries to give it to you. Thankfully, I haven't heard the his family nonsense much, aside from my mom and a few aunts. They know me well enough to know our relationship isn't enough for me to put up with his disrespect, especially towards my fiancé. They'd be wasting their breath. The brother sounds like a petulant child. If your girlfriend ends up going back to that over you, which going by what you've said I'd say is highly unlikely, then you'd have dodged a massive bullet. Yeah, I don't think I have to worry about her going back. Safe to say she can't stand him either, lol. Edit. First, thanks for reading and responding. I've been reading the comments between last night and this morning and valid points were made. There isn't an update since the only people I've spoken to since that dinner is Jen and my little sister. I want to clarify a few things that I saw in the comments. 1. Jen and I are newly engaged. It was one of those feelings where we both knew we were in it for the long run. As fast as it is, I'm sure about her. 2. When we met, I was the one who approached her, not the other way around. Whether she knew or had suspicions of us being related, I don't know. I asked after finding out they dated, and she says she had no idea. I didn't have a reason to doubt that, but I can admit this seemingly overreaction on Mark's part does raise red flags. 3. I had no idea she and Mark dated when I met her. Mark and I aren't close at all. We used to be, but as we grew up, we drifted and talked less and less. Before I moved back, we didn't really speak much, aside from special days like his or my birthday. Jen knew of my family but not much until I decided I was ready to introduce them to her. When she and Mark met again, I didn't get a sense of any residual feelings on either part. She didn't treat him like a stranger, but she also wasn't overly affectionate with him either. 4. I was told this was a relationship that lasted a month. I didn't think I needed permission from Mark to ask her to marry me, but maybe that was wrong of me. I'm not sure. That being said, I plan to talk to Mark this weekend to lay everything out on the table and figure out what's up. I never asked for a side of their relationship, which is my fault for not doing my due diligence. If anything major or enlightening happens, I'll update. But for now, that's all I have. Now for the full update. First, I want to thank everyone for reading. It's been a busy weekend, so I haven't had a chance to reply to many people, but I did edit in responses to the most common questions I saw in the comments of the original post. Again, thank you. I appreciate it all, even the criticisms. Now for the update. I called Mark and asked him to meet up with me at my place to talk. I told him I would prefer Jen to be around for the talk as well, but I was cool with it if he didn't want her there. He agreed to talk to both of us and showed up at my place around noon today. It was pretty quiet for a few minutes before I started a conversation. I apologized for not warning him I would be proposing to Jen, and I apologized for hitting him. He said it was whatever, but he appreciated the apology. I told him what Jen had said about the relationship and breakup when I asked her about it, and I asked him to confirm if it was true. I pretty much said that his reaction throughout the whole thing has been extreme, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding their relationship or downplaying how serious they were. He confirmed that they only dated for a few weeks, and he broke up with her because he lost interest. Jen asked if he was acting like this because he still had feelings or regrets about ending things with her. He said he could admit he thought she was more attractive than when he last saw her, but there weren't any feelings or regrets. He said he just didn't like seeing a girl he dated, even if it was short-term, with his older brother, and as a man shouldn't have violated him by pursuing things with his ex. I reminded him that I had no idea they dated, so it wasn't like I consciously did this knowing their history together. He shrugged me off and said it didn't matter. I still should have broken it off. He was adamant that if the roles were reversed, he would have done the same thing, which I doubt. I asked him why he proposed to her if he didn't have any lingering feelings. Basically, to sum it up, he was talking about it to one of his buddies who was around when Mark and Jen dated, and the guy put the idea in his head that maybe Jen knew from the start that we were related and was doing this to get back at him, considering Jen had been hung up on him after they ended. He and his friend thought it would be a good idea to test it and see if they were right. So he came up with the idea to propose and see if she dumped me for him. Jen asked him to elaborate on why he thought she was hung up on him, and he told her that he heard she was asking about him following the breakup and still hanging out at the places they used to go to, so it was a valid assumption. Then for her to pop up randomly with his brother affirmed his suspicions. Jen told him she'd only ask about him once following the breakup, and she'd been hanging out at those places with friends before they started dating, and she wouldn't avoid them because of a breakup. She also told him she was offended at the idea that she would go as low as to pursue me, just to get back at him. He shrugged and gave her a half-baked apology, but said she had to see it from his point of view. He asked her if she really didn't know, and she told him that she didn't see the resemblance in us until we were in the same room, and we act nothing alike, so it never crossed her mind, and he said okay. That pretty much wrapped up the conversation. He did tell me before he left that I could take back his invite to the wedding, because he can't bring himself to support our relationship knowing he used to date her. I told him he didn't have to worry about that, as he was most likely going to be uninvited anyway. It's been a few hours since our talk, and I do feel better. My parents aren't too happy about him being uninvited, but they understood that it was a mutual decision and probably for the best. My sisters told me they knew he didn't have a good reason for being an a-hole, and they don't blame me for not wanting him at the wedding. As of now, I'm going to limit contact with Mark, and I doubt he'll reach out to me anytime soon either. Once again, I want to thank everyone for reading and commenting, and if anything significant happens, I'll update again. I can't get over the fact that he only dated her for a few weeks, doesn't tell you at all, and then still expects you to break up with someone that he apparently was not interested in at all. He has some horrible friends. And the fact that he doubled down tells me he's looking at your wife more as a property or used goods rather than a human being. Not to mention the disrespect on a personal level to assume that you're not deserving of happiness if he's already been with that person. He has a really crappy mindset. That's likely going to paint a very bad picture in the future of him. I imagine the brothers' buddies all killing themselves laughing that they got him to do the proposal. I refuse to believe this is real, because I do not want to live in a world where an adult can be so stupid to think that plan would work. Even if Jen was this conniving person, a public proposal as your attempt to edge her back in is literally insane. I've had former friends who thought they were such hot stuff that they actually did pull something like what Opie's brother did, only to have a severe reality check later. This story may sound unbelievable, but the stupidity is sadly real. What happened? They thought they could seduce their respective exes back to them, and were even convinced to take it further by proposing from other friends I also no longer associate with. You can imagine how that turned out. Hindsight, weirdest friend group I fell into. I had a tormented relationship for 5 years with someone who had asked me to marry him, then didn't want me to tell anyone for over a year, by which time he was saying it was a mistake. That was the trigger for our final breakup, and I was lucky enough to connect with an old crush soon after. Despite knowing that, Mr. Ambivalent decided I was the love of his life after all, and that he'd better get down on one knee in a park and propose. Screw you, guy, and your crappy cheap ring, and year of whiny emails. My ex-husband proposes to his partner every now and again, just to tell her that it was only a joke, the next day. Our children have been present when this nonsense went down. I would have kicked his butt a long time ago, but they have a severely autistic son, and he has the money to provide to his needs and specialty facilities, etc. I think she stays for this reason. Last story. Am I 48 female crazy for letting it bother me that my partner, 49 male, agreed with his ex about me? I've always been independent. I was single and on my own 100% for 10 years with my child until I met my current partner. Bought my own place, owned 2 cars just like majority of people do. This guy is truly amazing and I have never been happier. We have been together 4 years. His ex-wife, I noticed in the beginning of our relationship, was always calling and yelling about needing more money for this, more money for that. Always about money. Their children are grown and he already makes huge payments, but it was just not enough. Anyhow, not my business, so not my place to say anything. Not something I even cared to know about. We have never met or interacted and never had any reason to. So in December, she texted him talking about what a mooch their son's girlfriend is, and her mother as well. He was playing the texts in text-to-voice while sitting next to me, so no, I wasn't snooping. She said a girlfriend needs to sign a prenup before getting serious with her son. The son doesn't own anything or even work, so unsure how his girlfriend is mooching from him. She was just sounding extra spicy and miserable. Then says, speaking of which, you need to get whoever that is that you're with to sign one too. We have worked hard over a half our lives to just have her take everything from us. I was stunned. But when he replied to her, Roger that, I was incredibly hurt that he did defend me. He instead sounding like he agreed with her. I asked if he really thought I was going to do something like that to him, and he said no. When I mentioned that really hurt when he agreed, he just said let it go, and it's nothing to be upset over. We had never even talked about moving in together. I definitely like having my own place, but now after that, I will never ever move in with him in the future. Not a chance. One time, he mentioned a problem about the huge payments he makes to her, and I was snarky and said something about her being so concerned about me signing a prenup so I don't take what's hers, and he got angry. The one and only time I have seen him angry at me. Part of me wants to bail because she obviously still has so much control over his life when they have been split for years. Am I crazy for letting this bother me like it thinks I am? Now for the top comments. I definitely like having my own place, but now after that, I will never ever move in with him in the future. Smart call. Really a smart call. So, he didn't get angry with the ex when she went off on you and didn't shut her down, but he got mad at you when you pointed this out? Me thinks your partner is a little confused about who exactly his partner is. Thank you. Someone who understands what I'm saying here, lol. Just flip it back on them both and say, I don't think it's a good idea to move in together and intermingle our finances. I worked way too hard all these years to have you and your ex bleed me dry with these ridiculous adult-aged child support payments. Now you know that she will always have a say or control a certain aspect of him and his money. Just the fact that he let her demand more money and not put his foot down and go with what the court says is saying something. I get when the kids are younger, but as you said, they're grown. Yes, and the fact that I am not allowed to tell him it upset me without being made to feel stupid makes me wonder if this is worth it as well. That is the point where you should take some time and decide if he is really someone you want to be around, when you can't even talk about something that upsets you. I agree. Update. Am I the a-hole for checking out of my relationship after my girlfriend cheated on me? Original post. I, male 31, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend Mia, female 29, for a bit more than 2 years. Overall, life has been good for us, and our relationship has always felt very strong. For most of our time together, I imagined that we'd eventually get married, have kids, and grow old together. Mia said that is what she wanted several times herself. Starting around June of this year, Mia started acting strangely. She became stressed out with her work and became very snappy towards me. I tried my best to be supportive during this time, given that she had just started a new job, but she would constantly pushing me away. I got suspicious when I started noticing how protective she was of her work phone around me. She'd be reading stuff on it all the time and always looked so happy while doing so. Whenever I would come by, she would quickly lock the screen. This continued for a few weeks, and I'm not proud to admit, but I started shoulder surfing Mia whenever she'd bring out her work phone. And after about a week of this, I learned a password. What's ironic is around this time I was also ring shopping, as I planned on proposing some point in the fall, but that never panned out. So, one day in August when Mia was out with some of her friends, I took this as an opportunity to go through her work phone, and what I found completely destroyed me. I really don't want to get into details, but in summary, Mia started a relationship with one of her coworkers, Paul. From what I can tell, it went on for about 2 months. Paul kept on pressing her to leave me, but Mia seemed reluctant and kept on giving him excuses for why she couldn't leave, but reassured him that she'd continue seeing him. When Mia came home, I confronted her and she surprisingly owned up to it. She apologized and cried more than I ever remember. She said she never meant to hurt me and that she'd take it back if she could. She claimed that her stress and depression clouded her judgment and that Paul was a loser who couldn't compare to me. I don't remember much of the conversation, but do remember it ending with us agreeing to take a break from each other for a few weeks so that I could gather my thoughts. She moved in with one of her friends that night. The pain and disappointment I felt over the next few weeks were crippling. Over time, I feel like I completely morphed into an angry and bitter person. I honestly don't even recognize myself sometimes. Mia returned back to my apartment at the start of October and apologized again. She said that she couldn't even imagine the pain she brought me and has vowed to never cheat again. I do believe her, as she has asked Paul to not contact her unless it was work-related, and she has been trying her utmost to repair things with me. She is constantly putting in maximum effort to please me and is adamant that there is no one else she'd rather spend the rest of her life with. We have also started couples therapy on Mia's dime. But to be completely honest, I'm checked out of this relationship, as everything about Mia annoys me now, from how she looks to the sound of her voice. At this stage, I've made up my mind that I want to dump her. The experience has spoiled this relationship for me. I've also started chatting with some other women on dating apps. I've been on some dates and spent a few nights away. I'm 90% certain that Mia knows what I'm up to, as I have not been discreet about what I've been doing at all. For example, a few nights ago I was going on a date. I'm guessing Mia knew, as she asked me where I was going. I told her it was none of her concern. She seemed hurt by this but didn't press me any further. She'll randomly say things like, "I love you," or "You mean so much to me," but I either just nod or act like I didn't hear her. I was telling a few of my friends about this last night, and they both think I should just dump her immediately since I'm wasting my own time, and Mia isn't worth getting angry over. One of them suggested that I post here to gain some insights from a wider audience, since it thinks I'm being a bit of an a-hole for dragging this out. So here I am. For those wondering, I'll probably be dumping her and kicking her out of my apartment at some point in January. You're the a-hole. You would have been fine if you just broke up with her, but she's clearly trying to make things work with you, and you are cheating on her and stringing her along. Break up with this poor girl already. Goddamn. Poor girl? She a damn user. And how is she a user? She sees what you did is wrong. She's actively trying to fix it. She's bringing you both to therapy with her own money, and you are cheating on her. Seems like you are the user in this situation. using me to pay for our living expenses so that she can focus on her student loans. All under the guise of loving me, yet being with another guy on the side. If that isn't using, then I don't know what is. Everyone sucks here as you're now cheating too. What the heck, dude? Just end things and try to salvage a little integrity. Having been exactly his position, I'll go out on a limb and say he's not necessarily the a-hole. I do believe he should stop messing around and end it though, but only because what he's doing is detrimental to him, not her. We all react to trauma in different ways. Being cheated on by someone you not only loved, but thought you'd spend the rest of your life with, it was ring shopping mind you, almost feel like you've completely lost the person entirely. You legitimately grieve, because the person you thought they were has basically died, and all that remains is a husk of the person you loved. You see cruelly slapped together a puppet that smiles with her face, laughs with her voice, and touches with her skin, but it's not them anymore. And you're not even really sure it ever was. Some may even extrapolate this realization to other people and come to terms with the fact that you can't really know or trust anyone. Not completely. This kind of grief can take years to truly recover from. OP, you need to just dump her and move on, for your sake. You'll never really begin to start healing until the ghost of your loved one is out of your life. I'm sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. You tried with therapy. It didn't work. That's not your fault. It's hers. Nothing to feel guilty about. Honestly, I've made up my mind before therapy. At the time, I low-key just wanted her to waste some money on it. Yeah, it was vindictive, but at the time I wanted to do that. Dude, she blamed cheating on depression and said the guy was pathetic. If she went to him, she couldn't have thought very highly of you. Lol, she said it to make me feel better, I guess. But in retrospect, it's like, you cheated on me with someone who is pathetic by your own admission. Yeah, it's pretty funny for her to say, this guy's pathetic. Then have him be the reason she ruined a relationship. She's admitting she's a slut who is willing to ruin something good for someone pathetic or just too stupid to say no. Glad to hear you are doing well. You'll find someone better. Now for the update. I ended up dumping my girlfriend last night. She was very upset, but I think she knew it was coming. She's been walking in eggshells around me since we got from our break, and I have to admit she was definitely trying to make things work. I'm also fairly certain she knew I was going on dates with other women for the last few weeks because I wasn't being particularly discreet about that. She did cry a little and suggested that we continue therapy, but I declined this offer as I don't think this relationship was salvageable. She's staying with one of her friends across town for now, and they'll be collecting her things on Sunday. She needs to find somewhere new to live as her friend realistically cannot house her for long. And considering how expensive and difficult it is to find somewhere, I suppose it will be tough for her for the next few weeks. I do somewhat regret wasting so much of my time keeping her around and pretending I was getting something out of therapy, but whatever. Can't change the past. I'm just glad she's out of my hair now. I don't blame you for leaving after she cheated. That's an unforgivable thing for me and for a lot of people. However, pretending you wanted to work it out when you weren't and cheating yourself wasn't the way to go. Yeah, they both seem slimy to be honest. He gives me the impression he wanted to just see if he could do better, and if he couldn't, he would forgive. Blah. Meh, the way I see it, there's an element of forfeiture involved. She cheated. I don't think he should have to decide how to handle it based on her feelings. If the cheater gets manipulated and cheated on themselves, that's a-okay with me. Even if she cheated, which is horrible, feigning you wanted it to work and going on dates with other women while still in a relationship makes you a sleazy dude too. In retrospect, it wasn't great for me. But honestly, this experience made me bitter and I'd say a worse person, so it felt right at the time. You can blame her for what you did, but you cannot blame her for your emotionally immature reaction and manipulative tactics. Hoping that you can let go of this in a healthy way and treat your next partner with more dignity and respect than that, regardless of what they do to you. I don't know, I only acted the way I acted because she cheated. The reason she wanted us to work it out was because I was such an excellent partner beforehand. Like I said above, the experience made me bitter. Dude, how can you make the point and still miss it? That is the problem. An experience can make you bitter, yes, but you chose to react in an unproductive manner. You can say to yourself, yeah, I showed her, but you also held yourself back and dated other people while technically still committed. To be honest, that isn't much better than cheating. You mistake me. At the time, I wasn't trying to be the bigger person. I wanted to waste her time and money and let her think that we could work things through. I dumped her because I eventually wanted to move on and was tired of keeping her around. I promise you this feels good for now, but in the long run, I don't gather you learned anything from what happened and will probably walk right into a similar situation soon. Sticking around while you date other women openly and pretend to go to therapy is a crappy thing to do. regardless of what you did to deserve it, and nothing about you did should make you feel any better. Growth is an option. Now for the last update. My ex came by to collect her things this morning. She texted me last night asking if the morning would be better than the afternoon we had planned. I accepted this since I kind of wanted this out of the way as soon as possible. She came with one of her friends, and they stayed for about an hour. We didn't talk much during that time. They just packed her things and took a few trips downstairs to put them in a car. I stayed in my home office the entire time, as I didn't want to interact with them. Once they finished, my ex came back downstairs alone, left me my second mail keys on the kitchen counter, and called me over to lock the door. We said our goodbyes and she left. She seemed and looked very upset throughout the entire ordeal, but thankfully left quietly. It's now over. My apartment feels kinda strange now. If I'm being completely honest, I'd seriously consider moving myself if it wasn't in such a convenient location. Redecorate instead of moving. Make it your own. Things that you did not like but you did. This. Buy a new bed, sheets, etc. Change the bedroom completely if you can't afford it. Make it your apartment. And keep it neat. Fortunately, she's been keeping the house very tidy for the past few weeks, so I don't have much cleaning to do. Though I have started rearranging things and do plan on donating a bunch of this stuff. A new candle or incense will make it smell your own too. Not the a-hole. You did what you had to do. Things will get easier over time. Take solace in the fact you still have your self-respect. The world is full of lonely young women. There's a girl who values you as much as you value her waiting for you. You just have to go find her. Good luck. Thanks, I appreciate it. At this stage, I think I'll probably be taking a break from relationships for a bit. Lol. Not the a-hole. Crazy that people were giving you grief for going on dates when she was still living with you, insisting that you were stringing her along. With this logic, your ex was also stringing you along while she was cheating on you, but none of them brought that up. Lol. Regardless of whether I was stringing her along or not, I don't feel too bad about doing it. I wanted to waste her time and money, and once I had my fill of that, there was no more reasons for us to stay together. Sure, I wasted my own time, but I now feel that we both leave this relationship being burnt versus just me being burnt. You shouldn't feel bad. She didn't care about what you did to you and then try to love bomb you to get you to stay. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not impregnating my high school crush? I, 37 male, am a single father to a beautiful girl, 9 female. She's my pride and joy, and life is great with her. But she is the only one I will ever have as I have been snipped a few years ago. I don't really tell people about it. It's my own business. Not that I don't want any more children, I just don't want any more baby mamas. My daughter's mother and I have an amicable relationship, but it's taken a lot of work and emotional anguish to get here. I can't say the next one would be as amicable, so I made a decision to get myself vasectomized. Maggie, 37 female, has been a crush of mine for the past 20 plus years. She's unmarried, no children, and works as a gymnastics instructor, which keeps her fit. She's just as beautiful as the girl I've fought over in high school. I've moved away while she stayed in our hometown, but we've kept in touch and grown to be really good friends. She adores my daughter and comments frequently on how much my daughter has grown in years, with love reacts and emojis. Nothing out of the norm, I just took it as her being nice. A couple years back, I admitted my crush to her as I feel we're mature enough to be embarrassed by it, or her make fun of it. She took it well, but we never pursued anything from it. That is, until this last Christmas. My daughter and I flew home to spend holidays with my family. My parents were ecstatic to see their granddaughter, and my brother's kids were happy to see their cousin. Maggie saw that I was in town through social media and messaged me. We made a date for lunch when my parents were available to watch my daughter. We met at a coffee shop and she threw her arms around me and put her head on my chest. High school me would have felt a little tight in the pants, but I just hugged her back. Coffee turned to dinner, turned to drinks. In the middle of drinks, the conversation turned intimate when she finally blurted out, "OP, put a baby in me," in between giggles, and I laughed along. I took it as an invite back to her place where we eventually ended up. I introduced Maggie to my daughter and they hit it off really well. I definitely felt this could sprout into a full-on relationship. My daughter isn't used to me dating as most of my time revolves around work and being a full-time father. She supported me pursuing Maggie and explained she can hang out with my parents and her cousins while I did my thing. We split the week between my hotel and her place. I flew back thinking we were going to be a thing for good. The last week she called me sad, telling me she's not pregnant, wouldn't always use protection. I asked if it was a good thing to get pregnant at the beginning of this relationship, and she broke down to confess that her bio clock was ticking and just wanted to get pregnant. She chose me because of how beautiful my daughter is, but it wasn't going to make me raise our child if I didn't want to. She has no intentions for a relationship. Am I the a-hole for not telling her about my procedure and can't give her a baby? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole and run. That's grade A crazy. She essentially used you and it backfired completely. They have doctors and sperm banks for that kind of thing, not your random old friend in social media that's daughter you think is pretty. That's crazy as heck and creepy. And a song sounds in the back of my head. She's a maniac, maniac. Yeah, I wonder why she's still single. Definitely do not agree with people saying Opie should have known and calling abuse, etc. He got the info about baby fever after they, what he thought, started a relationship. How can he know the "put a baby" comment wasn't just a flirt? It's easy to judge in retrospect when you know the details, and specifically as he obviously only presented the things that were said that is relevant for the story, and not everything else in their interaction. If they spent a whole day at night plus several more dates together, talking and interacting, that one single comment wouldn't have been a clue to anything at all. Not the a-hole. Yeah, would have thought she just meant she wanted to have fun in bed, since that seems to be a common term for it lately. Would not have thought she was serious about it. And the vasectomy just paid for itself. Not the a-hole. BS. Run. She crazy. My dad is crying because he wants to live with me after everything is done to me. Plus update. I, 26 female, have dealt with a lot from my alcoholic dad. Growing up, he was never mean to me, but never really a father. He worked overnight and slept all day. His drinking got worse when I was 16 and continued to decline. When I was 18, he lost his job and chose to drink with his friends instead of finding a new one. I have 3 older sisters who were already moved out when this happened, so it was just me and my mom living there. Electricity would get turned off, water shut off. He wouldn't pay for more oil in the winter, so I would have to sleep in a freezing cold house under 6 blankets. He spent most of this time at his friends' houses, so we didn't have to even deal with it. My mom barely made enough money to cover groceries and other expenses, and I was full-time student in beauty school and had a part-time job, so it couldn't help much either. My parents fought terribly because of this, and living there was hell. So I moved in with my boyfriend at the time, now fiancé, with his family, because I couldn't take it anymore. After this, I barely heard from my dad for years. He ended up losing the house, and my mom got a cheap apartment for herself that she could barely afford. My dad became homeless, and either slept in his car or hung out with his addict friends. This went on for 5 years, and he barely talked to me during this time. Fast forward to the present. My fiancé and I worked our butts off for ourselves and built a house. We've been moved in for 18 months. But one day after we moved in, I was T-boned by a pickup truck and sustained horrible injuries. My dad found out at Christmas, which was when the injuries were still fresh, but didn't bother to text or call me once after that. Now, he had a stroke in January. He actually does have Medicare, so he's been in a state-run nursing home since then. He's miserable there and keeps calling his sister, sobbing that he has 4 daughters but none of them will take him in. He's staying in this nursing home for free, and my sisters and I all have full-time jobs and are starting our own lives. My dad has always been a very irresponsible person, leaves the front door open all night, leaves the stove on, etc. On top of all that, he just had a stroke, so him staying with one of us would turn us into a nurse. I'm working full-time, planning my wedding and still doing finishing touches on my new house. I worked hard for all of this despite what he put me through. I am the only one out of my sisters that still lives in the area. The rest of them moved away, all about 2 hours away or so. My dad told his sister he is waiting for my fiancé and I to open our house to him because he wants to stay around here. His sister feels so bad for him and asks us all if we could do a family phone call on Friday, just my sisters and my aunt, because he's so unhappy and is so sad his daughters don't want him. I'm absolutely furious that he is calling around telling people in the family that I won't offer my house to him after everything he put me through. My aunt even told him he can stay with her until his disability comes in, and he told her he wants to stay with his daughters. Like he has a right to pick and choose. He didn't even bother to freaking text or call me when I was suffering from my accident. But he is expecting me to open my home to him when I'm planning a wedding and working full-time? I'm starting my life and I want no part of this, especially because he can either continue staying in the nursing home or stay with my aunt. I'm going to have to be rude on this phone call because everyone is probably expecting me to feel bad for him. I don't. He did this all to himself. He chose to stop working. He chose to give up on parenting when I still needed him. He chose to not be involved in my life. Now you're going to make me feel guilty for not opening my home to you? Side note, I've even been going to the nursing home once a week to get his dirty clothes and do them for him, despite all the anger I've had towards him all these years. I'm about to stop doing that too. They can do his laundry in the nursing home. Now for the top comments before reading the update. First, congratulations and best wishes to you and your fiancé. Second, I'm very sorry that you're going through all of that. But you absolutely have every right to refuse to give in to his manipulation, guilt-tripping, and other nonsense. If other family members are very worried about him, well then they can move him in with them. Thank you. I agree. I told my fiancé that I think he wants me to offer our home so he can tell himself he didn't fail as a father and that his kids still love him. I of course feel awful for him and I wish him the best, but I'm not in a position financially or mentally to handle him, especially knowing he has other options. I just find it so selfish. I'm a very people-pleasing person and it's very difficult for me to stand up for myself. So you can imagine how stressed I am over all of this. But I'm forcing myself to stay strong. Best way to get over that people-pleasing urge, which has been programmed into us by our parents by the way, is to pretend you're reading your post from the point of view of someone else. So, reread your post as if one of us has written it, or your friend who was asking for advice. What does your gut tell you? I got as far as he's in a state-run nursing home but he is miserable in there, and keeps calling his sister, sobbing that he has 4 daughters. Before I said out loud, oh hell no. He doesn't have 4 daughters. He forfeited you and your sisters when he chose drink over parenting, when he chose to neglect you, when he couldn't even be bothered to contact you after your terrible accident. You owe him nothing. He provided the sperm and that's it. He does not get to play the sad dad now after everything is put you through. To be honest, I wouldn't even be a part of this bloody phone call. If your aunt feels so sorry for him, then let her look after him. If she believes that you should care for him and have him in your house after everything is done, then personally I'd ditch her too. Absolutely stop doing your dad's laundry too. Go as low contact as you possibly can. No contact would be better, but only you know what you're comfortable with. Sending you huge hugs. Thank you so much. I appreciate the advice. The only reason I plan on being on the call is so I can be super stern and blunt, because this is now the 4th time my aunt brought up the idea of him staying with me, and I'm going to put an end to it on this call. The second I hang up the phone with them, I'm driving to the nursing home, dropping off his clean clothes at the front desk and never looking back. I'm not going in to visit him. I'm not taking his dirty clothes with me. I'm going to get right back in my car, block his number, and go home. All you have done is grow up, move out, and make your own life of your own choosing. This is what emotionally healthy parents want their children to do. This is what I had to keep reminding myself of when my parents tried to get me to move back to my hometown. They didn't need me, but thought I owed them my company, the company of my children, and future old age care. You don't owe your father anything. Thank you. I agree. It's funny how he thinks he can be out of my life for years and then try to come back in when he needs something. I'm glad you were able to stay strong to your parents. Now for the update. So the call never happened because one of my sisters got held up at work. She sent a text to me and our other sisters in a group chat, aunt not included, and said we can talk sometime soon. I don't want to wait to speak my mind, so I texted back and said I have something to say. Here's the message I sent. Well, I think it's great that you guys are willing to help and do what you can for Dad, but I've reached my breaking point. I personally don't think it's fair for him to give up on being a parent the last few years I needed him, when we were still living at home, and then barely contact me since then, and then make these comments to aunts and whoever else that I won't open my home to him. You have no idea how mad I've been the last few days. It's insulting. Neither fiancé and I are comfortable with him ever staying in our home. I've mentioned this numerous times since his stroke, but it's still being brought up. Not by you guys, by him and Aunt. Neither of them has a right to make me feel this way. I'm at a point now where I feel like I was nice enough to do his laundry, fill out his disability papers, bring him groceries, and visit with him, despite all of the sadness and anger it caused in me. Now, him and Aunt and whoever else are expecting more of me just because he's my dad. He doesn't get to just stop working or being a parent and then decide to act this way. I truly no longer want any part of this situation with him. It may sound harsh, but I tried to help. And now I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Last story. My mom kicked me out for my foster sister plus update. For some background, 19 female and my 8-month-old son live with my mother, 54 female, who decided to become a foster mom 2.5 years ago and was placed with 2 girls I'll call Liz, 14 female, and Amy, 8 female, who at the time were 12 and 6 respectively. Both girls had severe developmental, mental, and behavioral issues due to drugs and other issues that I will not include for privacy. Liz's issues were more severe, which resulted in her going to a group home after being with us for 6 months, as we couldn't properly care for her. During those months, she stole over $200 cash from me and $150 worth of stuff. She also cursed, spit, and threw things at me when I didn't do exactly what she wanted. I still have scars on my chest and arms from Liz, as I had yelled at her for taking my earrings. That was the day Liz was removed. So about a month ago, my mom told me that she was going to bring Liz back, as she needed a place to stay till she could get a bed at a better facility. I did not feel comfortable with her around me or my son at all, and when I told my mother this, she told me that I could leave then. So I packed up our stuff and am now staying with my sister. I have an apartment set up already but can't move in till August. I just don't know what to do and feel so unimportant. Edit. I just wanted to add a little more context for everyone. So for everyone asking if Amy still lives with my mom, sadly, yes, she does. And now that I'm not there to help her, I'm very concerned about her. I am my mom's 4th bio kid and her youngest bio kid. My older sister took primary care of me until my mother kicked her out. 3 out of 4 of her bio kids have been kicked out for separate reasons. The only reason my mom is a foster parent is for the money, and after Liz leaves, she will be taking in 3 more kids, so she can get money to buy something. I'm not sure what, but it's not for the kids. Liz also had a case against her for abusing a 6-year-old girl, not Amy, while she lived with us. She has been with my mom for a week and a lot has happened since, and I will update when it's over. Thank you for all the comments and advice. Now for the top comments before reading the update. It's not that you are not unimportant, but that she's a crappy mom, and she will get paid for taking care of Liz, and not you. She is thinking short-term and only about the money that she can make. Such as it is, especially when you consider that Liz can get disability checks as well. That's a good amount of money plus food stamps depending on the state, and Medicaid. That's nothing to sneeze at. The problem is that that money is supposed to be spent on a person, but I happen to know, because my own mom did this, that she can keep it for herself and say that she is. The government is kinda lazy about sending people to check if they are telling the truth. As long as she's not lying on her taxes, she's going to get away with it. You are completely right here. That is 100% the reason why she did it. She said that when she became a foster parent, the money was important. As much as this hurts, you made the best decision that you could for you, and most importantly, your son. Protecting him is the most important thing right now. Your mom can now deal with the repercussions of her decision on her own, and you can sleep soundly knowing you made a right decision. I wish you and your son so much luck and happiness in this next chapter in your lives. Especially since she basically kicked out her infant grandchild for a troubled mess that was already justifiably removed by government services the first time around. No one's going to let Opie's mom live that one down once the baby's age is known and why. Troubled messes come with bigger checks. Former foster kid here. Can also confirm as someone who once wrote the checks for foster families at an organization I worked. It is significant the difference between a youth with and without that need for extra help. My sister used to purposely take in little tyrants. You know, the ones that bite people and need therapy 4 times a week. She was getting tons of money. They also get more for infants and toddlers. If your mom is okay with putting you and your child in harm's way, I hope down the road she's not confused as to why she has a daughter and a grandchild that she is cut off from. If I cut her off, so will the rest of my family. I'm the only reason they haven't gone no contact with her. Then that's on her, not you. Unfortunately, we reap what we sow, and your mom being cut off is not your responsibility. I feel for you, I really do. But you'd be sacrificing yourself and your sanity so she can continue to mistreat you. Now for the update. Liz was officially and permanently removed from my mom's care and will not be allowed to stay in foster homes with any kids. She's a child, and I don't take joy in her life getting harder, but I'm relieved for the safety of Amy, who is still with my mom. So for a full description of what led to this, about 2 days after she returned to the house, she got mad at Amy and took a handful of Aleve, painkiller. After being rushed to the hospital, she repeatedly said she didn't want to die. She just wanted to feel pain because she was mad. After that, they still put her back in my mom's house, where about 2 days later she stole a lighter and proceeded to light the house on fire. I do not know why she did it. She gave about 50 different versions of why, but ultimately it was probably because she wanted something. After multiple psychological evaluation and questioning, she said that next time she will burn the whole house down and make sure that no one escapes. There will not be a next time. On a different note, I will not be cutting off my mom until she no longer has kids in her house. I will, however, be going low contact. For everyone telling me to report her, she told her caseworker exactly why she wants more fosters, and the caseworker proceeded to find her a 17 female, 12 male, and 6 female. And in the caseworker's words, the 17-year-old will take care of the other 2, plus Amy. They will be placed next month. The system is so hugely screwed, I'm not quite sure what to do. Thank you for the advice, support, and even the criticism. It gave me a great laugh. Sorry I didn't update sooner. I didn't know what was happening until 9 last night, and I was working. Update. My 30 male wedding is 22 days away. I have been no contact with my dad's wife, both 60s, because she refused to apologize. He just told me he's not coming. How can I salvage this? Original post. My stepmom, Debbie, is a narcissist. She has been awful to my sister, 28 female, and me since they got together 18 years ago, and my dad has only enabled her. It's 100% an abusive relationship. She is extremely controlling and horrible to him as well. 2 years ago on my birthday, she brought up something traumatic she did to me years before and bragged about it to say that her mistreating me is the reason I'm successful. I was angry. I worked with my psychiatrist to write a letter explaining my hurt and telling her that while I want a relationship with her, I will need an apology to move forward. She sent a letter back blaming me for a bunch of stuff from when I was a kid to justify her ill treatment and refusing to apologize. My response was, I'm sorry. I can't have a relationship if you don't respect me enough to apologize. My email inbox is open should you choose to apologize, but this is a hard boundary. Do not call, text, etc. Since then, the only communication has been her attempts to ambush me by picking up my dad's phone when I call him, leaving me aggressive voicemails and texts, or having my dad pressure me to meet her in person. I suffer from anxiety, and direct contact with her would only trigger an attack. About a month ago, she stole my dad's phone, read through our private conversation, then texted me from his phone. My dad, understandably angry, said he wanted a divorce, and that same day she finally did email me one sentence. I am sorry for hurting your feelings on your birthday. I responded also with one line, I appreciate the apology. Then, nada again, from either of them. My dad left town to get some space. As I mentioned, my wedding is in 22 days. And my dad emailed me 2 days ago with a long, insulting letter. Too much to type out, but the highlights are, boundaries are rude, and I'm selfish. My psychiatrist is a joke. Debbie has been punished enough, so get over it. How dare I only send one line back to Debbie's email? Debbie's the real victim. And how dare I not invite his wife to my wedding? Plus the exact sentence, obviously I'm not coming to your wedding. To be clear, I've heard most of these brought up over the past 2 years and have addressed them with him, but he just dismisses me as being angry and vindictive. Basically, as usual, he wants me to just make peace at the expense of my mental health while never holding Debbie accountable. I'm in a healthy headspace thanks to my psychiatrist and incredible fiancé. I know that my boundary is healthy and no amount of guilt tripping will make me feel bad about setting it. But how can I respond? Despite my intense anger over the letter, I still want him, but not her, at my wedding. I love my dad, and I'm so sad that one simple boundary is apparently enough to end our relationship. Edited to add, I feel like the letter was a trap. Either I cave to her and they both come, or I tell him no and it proves all they say about me and justifies him not coming. The letter wasn't sent by Debbie, although it has her fingerprints all over it. My sister confirmed my dad did, but she's on team make peace, it's tearing dad apart. That deserves another post. One thing I didn't mention, in the letter he said he doesn't want to come because how am I supposed to explain why my wife isn't there? Well, how am I supposed to explain he isn't there? It's mind-boggling. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I think you know they have made their choice. Why would you want them in your life if they cause you so much distress and they clearly don't respect you? Count it as them doing you a favor. They shouldn't ruin your wedding day and you are literally letting them. Your wedding day isn't about them. It's about you and your partner. Yep, it's time to go no contact with dear old enabler dad. These people will only get worse with old age. Then add grandkids in the mix and they will be even more of a nightmare. Hey Opie, may I suggest you read Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents? It's a relatively short book and you can get a free PDF online by Googling it. It has a lot of practical affirming advice for understanding and navigating exactly these kinds of relationships. I've also been in therapy for years and still found the book really useful and insightful. Hopefully you will too. Take care. I will look into it. Thanks for sharing. Sounds very helpful. Honestly, you're being way too dismissive of your dad's actions. He's hurting you and he knows it. He's hoping that if he hurts you enough, you'll cave. Tell him you're sorry to hear that, but that you understand and will send pictures if he wants. Oof, this got me good. You're right, although I hate to admit it. And no, he doesn't get anything from me if he doesn't come. It's unforgivable and I won't have a relationship with him. Hey bro, let me tell you a little bit about my story. My daughter is from my first marriage and my current wife and her do not get along. At all. My wife has told me numerous times, I'll find something to do. You go see her. She's your daughter. And I do. I know you're not a woman, but I hope you still get my point. Yep, and he is so afraid of her that he actively lies or hides when we would see each other, both then and now. Should get mad if he took my sister and me out to dinner when we were young, for spending her money since she was the breadwinner. So my dad would do it while she traveled for business and would pay cash so she wouldn't know. Even through this issue, we'd only ever meet for lunch and pay cash. He said, I feel like I have a mistress, and wasn't aware enough to see how messed up that is. I grew up in a similar situation, and the first thing I want to say is your father does not deserve a pass just because he didn't mistreat you in the same ways his wife did. He 100% allowed his child to be mistreated, and did nothing. That is not acceptable without an apology. You should be incredibly proud of yourself for setting this boundary and for fighting your way to better mental health. I suffer from anxiety as a result of my father's and stepmother's upbringing, and I can truly appreciate the amount of growth it takes to claw your way to the other side of this. I think the toughest reality I've had to face as an adult, processing a traumatic, emotionally abusive upbringing from my stepmother, is that my father allowed it to happen. My father is very much bullied into submission by his wife, as you explained yours is, but that doesn't excuse anything. He made a choice then to not fight for his daughter, and now, even worse, he's aiding his wife in trying to emotionally tear you down. You don't need that in your life, bro. I got caught in the trap, for a long time, of believing my father was just trying his best and wasn't malicious in his intentions. But I now own the fact that thinking like that is what manipulators and narcissists prey on. He failed to protect his child from ongoing emotional mistreatment. That isn't forgivable without an apology, without some semblance of ownership. What is different about your stepmother's doing compared to your father's allowing it to happen? I'd say there's a ton of catharsis in owning how angry you deserve to be at your father, and you shouldn't get a free pass into one of the best days of your life if he can't prove he cares enough about you to stand up for you. He's complicit in this situation too. This is my favorite reply. Thank you for sharing. It's shocking how similar it sounds, and anytime I brought up to him how my anxiety stems from Debbie, it was dismissed. But it really did. And the way my dad taught me to deal with that was just to keep the peace at all costs. Bend over backwards for Debbie, to make her happy because he's too afraid to stand up to her. I used to give him the benefit of the doubt too. Right now, my sister has been saying that type of thing. Don't you feel bad for Dad? He's in a really tough spot. He's really depressed. He's trying. Can you do it for his sake? I mean, he never stood up to her for our sake. Why would I? I'm going to send her your comment. Again, I really appreciate it. You spoke directly to my experience. And now for the update. The fun update is, I got married. My wife, still crazy to say, and I are so happy. And our wedding was the best day, full of the family and friends who love us the most. It was so incredible and full of memories we will cherish together forever. The not fun update is long and there's a lot that happened. Well, I sent back a response to my dad's original letter shortly after posting. I had a lot to say, but I kept it brief on the advice of some. Full text. I'm very hurt that you have chosen not to attend my wedding. However, I'm not surprised that you've once again chosen to appease Debbie's whims over my needs, happiness, and mental health as you've done for nearly 2 decades. It's honestly shocking that one simple boundary and one need for an apology from her is apparently enough to end your and my relationship. But I will respect your choice. We are not inviting drama, dismissiveness, bullying, or manipulation, and we are certainly not going to tolerate anyone who uses our wedding as an opportunity to blackmail us into accepting any of those. That has no place at our wedding, and frankly, in our lives at all. I never got a response. However, he did call my mom, who is awesome by the way, and said the same crap he said in the email from the previous post, which she shut down. She astutely realized he was just trying to manipulate her into getting me to let Debbie come to the wedding. He also had the nerve to say how important his vows were, and double down on his wife being more important. The kicker is, he cheated on my mom while they were married. So I'm not sure why he thought that was smart to say to her. My mom ended with, nothing would keep me away from my child's wedding, and asked him how attending would possibly change his relationship with Debbie. He didn't have an answer. I then sent a quick write-up to family and friends, basically stating that he won't be there and to please not bring it up on the wedding day. Most people were understanding and supportive, but it turned out 2 of my aunts, his sisters, suddenly couldn't make it. Well, my cousin told me my aunts decided not to come in solidarity. So, while I was deciding what to do and trying not to get others involved, my dad and Debbie decided it was better to use that time to poison my family against me. After all of his talk about not putting people in the middle in his letter, he sure had no problem with getting his siblings to boycott my wedding. My cousins were awesome though, and we had an excellent chance to reconnect about this type of BS from our parents and bond. 2 days before the wedding, my dad sent me another email titled, I come in peace. In it, he confirmed he won't come but said it saddens me to the depth of my soul, and that he wishes there was a way to mend a family. Other than, I guess, attending my wedding? Then he wishes me well and to enjoy my wedding because of how wonderful and important weddings are. Lol. The way it was written made it seem like he wanted to come but couldn't due to extenuating circumstances, which angered me. At the time of the wedding, he was sitting at home 30 minutes away, too much of a coward to show up. I waited until after the honeymoon to decide whether to respond. After talking with my therapist, I realized I did want to respond, because I don't think he understood what missing my wedding meant, and I wanted to make it clear. In it, I said this email was nothing but a self-serving, disingenuous attempt to alleviate his own guilt for skipping it, and that there is no healing from this. Then I said to not contact me again. Fast forward to last week. I got a letter in the mail, no return address. In it was a bunch of letters between us from when I was a child, and a piece of paper that said, Happy birthday. Don't throw away, your birth certificate and social security card are inside. So I guess that's that. He's wiped his hands off me, but not before going for a last attempt at a guilt trip. I have been working with my therapist through the hurt, anger, and sadness I'm dealing with from being abandoned by my father. I've been very depressed. I'm grieving a loss because I didn't want it to end this way, but he's made his choices. However, I'm thankful to have a great therapist and incredible support from my wife, mom, and friends. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you to everyone for your comments and support. And thanks to my incredible wife for being by my side through everything. Congratulations on your wedding. When we're young, we are sort of trained to think of our parents as infallible/omnipotent. As we get older, it's important to recognize that our parents are people. And most people are messed up with their own problems. And some of their problems are of their own making. Your father sounds like a my way or the highway type. But as you're a grown-up yourself, You get to set your own expectations, boundaries, and consequences of what you're looking to include in your life. And that probably includes letting your dad stick with his lonely highway as he's clearly chosen to do. I'd say you probably don't have anything nice to say to your dad, so silence from here out on might convey the exact message you're looking to send. Yeah, this has unfortunately been my journey over the past few years. Thanks for sharing. Hey Opie, I was in a similar situation a year ago, where my mom's long-term partner said something deeply hurtful and borderline unforgivable to me. I was extremely fortunate to have both of my parents' explicit support and never speaking to or seeing my mom's partner ever again, apology or not. Through extensive long-term therapy, I was able to get to a place where I was able to both hear and accept an honest, genuine apology from her partner and start to mend our relationship. We're in an amazing place now, a full year later. You have always offered this same opportunity of forgiveness through genuine remorse and meaningful change, but Debbie has done nothing to rise to the occasion and deserves no forgiveness or understanding. I was so violently depressed last year. It was also in a grieving process of sorts, even though I was dealt a much easier hand than you were. All this to say, I truly, deeply, with every bone in my body, think you made the right choice in drawing that line for your dad and his wife. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I hope you take your time in grieving and give yourself the grace you deserve. It took me many months and an amazing therapist to start to feel like myself again. All I can say is it gets better. And congrats on your marriage, Opie. I hope your wedding was absolutely beautiful. Thanks so much. I am sorry to hear about your depression. It's been a struggle for me as well. I know it will take time to process this. That said, I feel very confident in my decision despite the pain. The pain isn't caused by my decision, but by his. I'm glad you're doing better. Thanks again. You gave him a clear indication of what his choices have resulted and will further result if he keeps making his selfish choices. Now all of this like before is on him. He made his choice now. He's lost his son, and that's on him again. Like you indicated, he's a coward and will die a coward. I respect your assertiveness and willingness to set strict boundaries. You made the right decision in the end. Good luck with all. Thank you. It means a lot. Yes, I know he and Debbie are going to tell everyone who will hear how I'm wrong and mean and selfish and it's all my fault, but really it's on them. And this specifically is on him. They can lie about it all they want. The truth is the truth.